Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.
It hasn't changed in millions of years. But here we have a clue to an answer.
Good day to you. This is Sir Patrick Moore, and you're listening to the Paranormal UK Radio Network, the UK's biggest paranormal radio network, and this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Going to be definitely interesting, something you don't want to miss.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Paranormal Dimensions. I hope everyone's staying well out there. Thank you for that introduction, Sir Patrick. Okay, today I've got another super guest for you. It's Dr. Louis Turi. He's actually a very well-known name. He's been on very many shows. But just before I tell you a little bit more about him, thank you for the emails and comments that have been coming in. Some very interesting ones. As I said on the last show, I will actually get around to reading a few out in the future. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, my email is davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. Just repeat that, davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. And it's all one word, of course. Okay, now, a little bit about Dr. Turrie. Like the great prophet Nostradamus, Dr. Turrie was born and raised in Provence, France. He's a world-famous UFO contactee and clinical hypnotherapist. Dr. Turi is a captivating speaker, author of many books, and his profound cosmic wisdom continues to astonish skeptics and believers alike. He has been a regular guest on George Norrie's Coast to Coast show. He has been featured on national television shows as NBC's Ancient Mysteries series, TLC, the Discovery Channel, Journal of the Unknown, Weird or What, with William Shatner, More Than Human with the BBC, and on countless other radio and televised programmes worldwide. Dr. Turrie graduated from the Royal School of Music in London and was recognised in the 2003 Marquis Who's Who in America. Dr. Turrie counseled people from all walks of life, including many celebrities such as Ivana Trump, Peter Fonda, Gary Busey, Dennis Haysbert, John Gray, and David Icke, to name but a few. He channels the solar ET entity Draco and speaks of his 7 incredible fifth kind UFO experiences. And in fact, I think it's up to 7 now all over the world. These mind-boggling encounters lead Dr. Turrie to rekindle the great seer Nostradamus for prophetic visions and natural healing work. Dr. Turrie teaches the mighty secrets of supraconscious in time and space and its interaction with the cosmic code. Dr. Turrie regularly warns the world of his well-documented, undeniable predictions. In fact, the FBI visited Dr. Turrie twice following accurate terrorist attack predictions. So there we are. Let's meet the amazing Dr. Louis Turrie. Hello, Louis, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show, David. It's a pleasure.
I'm very honoured to having invited you, and you agreed to come on the show. You're very sought after, I know, very busy man. You've been on several big shows. You're on George Norrie fairly often. Things like the Discovery Channel and is it Ancient Aliens and stuff like that.
Right.
I know you're very highly sought after. And so explain a little bit about what's your. I know you do a lot of star readings and that sort of thing, don't you? But that's not the entirety of your.
No, I actually. I have a worldwide audience, and I generate YouTube videos on all sorts of topics. Anything involving UFOs to predictions, including politics, in religion, even though I don't like those topics because it really stinks. It creates so much animosity out there. But I also speak about the superconscious in time and space and how people react to each other, to politics, to religion. It's all preset by the cosmic code. So the type of information I have are highly spiritual, let's put it this way.
Yeah, I understand you like that. I understand at the moment Mercury is now in retrograde. Now there's a lot of things going on in the world. Can you tell the audience that might be listening, that are listening, well, we hope, what this all means for the world? Is there something good going to come out of the end of all this?
Always. There's no accident. God created the stars and He happens to be used as signs and to be interpreted so that we may lead a safer, more productive life. And let me explain to you what Mercury retrograde is all about. Mercury is a tiny planet, and it's represented by a guy who has wings on his heels. And this planet whose communication, transportation, the radio world, he regulates anything to do with moving parts, cars, name it, everything that moves, controlled by these planets. It is called in Greek mythology the messengers of the gods. And this planet 3 times a year for about a month turns retrograde. And no, it does not actually turn retrograde. Mercury goes only one motion, it's always direct. But because of the ecliptic, it seems to be an optical illusion for this planet to appear to go backwards. But what's going on really outside of the mind of our astronomers who cannot enter the intuition domain of my work, what's going on is a higher order. God, if you want to put it that way, is telling a train driver to slow down the train and then to put it back in reverse so that the people that miss the informations are able to go back in the train and go on with it because life is going so fast. We're going really, really much in one direction. So the universe, for 3 times a year for about a month, forces everything to go back. So if you try to, and the good news about that is it makes people much more spiritual and much more receptive to my type of information. So the timing of your show, it would be very beneficial for all the people that follows you and I. But in many ways, in terms of information, of course, so what it means is going to screw up every one of your plan. In reference to Trump, for example, he was supposed to do another debate and then he canceled it. It means also the people you haven't seen or talked to for a long time are going to come back. It means also to be ready for chain reaction accidents. And then you can see in the U.S. already there are quite a lot of the chain reaction accidents. And of course, non-cosmic people will blame the weather. But Mercury retrograde goes also in the summer. And then you have a terrible, terrible pile-up that takes place during these Mercury retrograde motions. It also affected the GPS of animals, pigeons, mammals, whales. Their GPS tells them to go, for example, towards the open ocean, but they're actually beaching themselves because they're going the other way. Animals have an inborn GPS, and like humans, we need a sophisticated technology to get direction. Animals don't need that. So again, scientists are not cosmic conscious, and they do not know that this during those periods it screw up the birds. Birds by the thousand are going to go right into a building and kill themselves. Whales and dolphins will beach themselves. So there is a mystical, spiritual, astrological phenomenon that's going on that 99.9% of the people living on planet Earth are totally oblivious of. And this is part of my teachings. So that is what Mercury retrograde is all about. And again, I write newsletters, I make YouTube videos to give more information and keep up with those news to prove the value of the old science of astrology.
Yeah, we'll get some of those links off of you later as we go along. Now you mentioned we're right on top of the American elections, and soon, I don't want to go into too political detail here, but we're right on top of the American elections, as you know, with President Trump and Biden. How do you see that going, and why do the radio and TV media talk 24/7 about President Trump It's mostly all bad. And why does he captivate so much attention?
Well, because he was born a Gemini. Gemini is called, again, in Greek mythology, the essential the gods. Gemini rules also radio. That's why Art Bell and George Norrie were born in Gemini. So Trump being a Gemini and having the head of the dragon Gemini stimulates anything and everything that has to do with newspaper, radio, television, magazine, and this is why 24/7 his stars stimulated the broadcasting world to talk about him. He's also controversial. So as far as the stars is concerned, for months I have said that in no way Trump can be re-elected because the stars do not support that re-election. But, and again, unless the Russian, like they did in 2016, again managed to manipulate the mind of all the people who are cosmic conscious, gullible idiots who believe anything that they read on Facebook. So there is all sorts of things going on. But the most important information that people have to know is that when you elect a president, you are going to be forced by the cosmic jurisdiction to suffer the idiosyncrasy of the leader you have put in power. You're going to be forced to suffer his fate. And as far as Trump is concerned, being a Gemini is 2, 4, 6, is double, is dual. That's why he cannot say one sentence without repeating himself 2 or 3 times. That's why he changes his mind every 5 seconds. This is why he has the attention span of a mosquito. He's an ADD. I mean, this is part of his gift to talk, to communicate. But the worst thing that can happen to the United States is that he was born with the tail of the dragon, which is really, really negative, into the sign of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius was foreign affairs, the minority, the Indians, black people. Sagittarius rules also the educational system, college, university. That's what they were closing down. This sign also rules anything to do with law, and religion. And all the area that America is being cursed right now is because of the tail of the dragon of the president. Pretty much like Hitler. Hitler was born with the tail of the dragon in Capricorn, and that means, of course, the German people who were no cosmic conscious put him in power, and the rest of the story is the entire world had to suffer the really, really negative stars of Hitler. And again, in reference to COVID-19, this is something much, much more spiritual that normal, traditionally educated people cannot really grasp. But this is a part of my teaching coming from the superconscious in time and space. Of course, I wrote a 600-page book on the power of the superconscious called Beyond the Secret. What I'm trying to tell you is the future is nothing else than the reincarnation of the thought. Once upon a time, everything that you have around you, your computer, your car, your watch, including London, Paris, New York, Washington, D.C., all this city once upon a time did not exist. What I'm trying to say, being objective, is that we have been made in the image of God. And you know it or not, you like it or not, we are all God and goddesses in training on this dance physical world, creating and learning to create our reality. So, Trump had a wish from the get-go, and that was to build a big, huge, thick, powerful wall. That would be paid by the Mexicans. I mean, one of those politics, we've got to bypass the political element here, which is very hard for some people because they are very much emotionally connected to the president. So his wish was to build a wall. Guess what? It's still being built, but there is no need of a wall anymore because now there is COVID-19, which is the secret enemy or the hidden war. So there is a lot of people who vibrate at the cosmic speed of our president. They fear the government. They are very gullible. They go for conspiracy. They are afraid of, pretty much like, I don't know, what is this guy you have over there? David Icke also, he's so into conspiracy stuff, but he's just responding to these on the stars. I don't want to say anything wrong about David. What I'm trying to say is that he's like us, cleverly cosmic and conscious and led by the reptilians. But what I'm trying to say is all these people who vibrate at President Trump, who don't like foreigners, they hate French, they hate Chinese, they hate black people. It's part of their UCI and their cosmic genes, their cosmic identity. They fear to be invaded by foreigners. So what happened is all these people also have thoughts that are going in the same direction that the leader of the world, which is obviously Trump, leading the most powerful country on the planet. And that's what creates and stimulates the reptilians to affect the mind of a scientist that weaponize the weather, that create nukes and create viruses. It's all highly, highly spiritual, and you have to be pretty much advanced in order to really connect with my cosmic information. Because, you can only relate to someone because of your education, your intelligence, your experiences, and most of all, your UCI, or your unique celestial identity, or your stars. And there is no one single human being out there that is created the same. Okay? Even including you and I. I mean, we are related to our parents genetically 150%. We may even look like mom and dad or brothers and sisters. However, in the world of the spirit, you are a total stranger to your closest family member. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's all highly mystical, highly spiritual, and it's all pre-programmed by the universal mind.
Okay, yeah, that's well, you can get your head around that lot, everyone.
Yes, there's a lot to think about.
There's a lot to think about, yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, I won't ask what your political views are. I mean, obviously, as I've said just before the show, us in the UK, we don't really have a horse in this race, but we do have our preferences, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think in my own opinion, when Clinton and Trump were the two, that were running for president, I actually didn't think either of them were a good choice for president. But saying that, I thought Trump would be the better one. Right, it's only my opinion.
Yeah, it all depends on how you are cosmically designed to like somebody or not to like somebody.
Yeah, I mean, let's say this. The only reason we know a lot about Trump over here is through watching American Apprentice.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't really know that much.
Let me point out something about England. Every country on the planet is controlled by one star, okay? Yeah. France is a Leo country. Leo who's love, romance, children, the art. So France and Italy are nations of lovers and artists. They even affect our language, making it very romantic. Okay. Now, you have, for example, Germany. Germany is ruled and controlled by Mars, which is the planet of war. And it even affects the German language, making it very army-like, very rough, so to speak. And Hitler was born in April. Aries, Aryan race, Aries, Aryan, the same words. And it was easy for Hitler to lead the white German people to war because they are a nation of warrior ruled by Mars, the planet of war. In fact, the most sophisticated skill you can find to build tank machinery and machine gun and bullets is to be found in the mountain of Bavaria. Now, England is a Capricorn country. Last 2 years, the tail of the dragon, which is a very negative energy, was right on top of England. Okay. Now, Capricorn was politics. All right. We had a government shutdown. Capricorn was politics, meaning the president has been impeached. Capricorn was large corporation. They're all going belly up. I mean, you're talking about the aeronautic industry. You're talking about the cruise industry. Large corporation all going up. Capricorn was old people. I spent 11 years at the Royal School of Music in Eastbourne in England, okay, in London. And there is a lot of old people out there. So a lot of old people died, especially because of coronavirus. But that is due to this Capricorn energy. Now, Capricorn was the rich, the snob, the royal, the queen of England. See what happened to your country with Brexit, and see what happened with the royal splitting from the queen. There is so many things that's going on, and all human beings are robots. Completely and entirely cosmic and conscious, wondering what the hell is happening with their own country, with their leadership, with politics, and with their own life, for that matter. So it all depends on where this dragon is located in your chart. And knowing that I practiced Nostradamus 16th century and divine astrology, my work has nothing to do with traditional astrology that usually start and finish on your horoscope newspaper. It's a very different methodology. That's why I write quatrain. That's why I write keywords when I make my predictions. So I'm trying to explain to you that this nasty negative energy has cursed the entire world, particularly in England, the last 2 years. And anything that involves politics stinks. Okay, now, as of May the 15th, 2020, the head and the tail has moved into the sign of Sagittarius, and the head is in Gemini. Gemini is talking, radio communication. That's the head of the dragon. Our president stimulates all the people to write, to talk, discuss him all the time, 24/7. The tail is in Sagittarius. And when I was in George, I said to George last October, October 2019, I said to him, be ready for a tremendous amount of mess involving politics. A lot of fire, a lot of animals going to be destroyed. A week later, we had the Australian fire. Then we had a series of fire in California and the western United States. I said to him, it's going to be a year of wind and fire. The next thing you know, we had a series of hurricanes that we never experienced before. So all those predictions are available, and I just finished my 2021 Nostradamus driving forecast. So anyone interested in my work, they can get it from drturrie.com. But what I'm trying to tell you here, there are no accidents, David. There are only cosmic circumstances at work that our infantile science and the majority of human beings walking planet for us are totally unconscious. Because politically or in the church of the old days, they don't want you to know about astrology. I'm sure you heard of J.P. Morgan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very wealthy, very powerful man. J.P. Morgan says millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do. And if you look at the Vatican, there are like 175 secret library under the Vatican, completely and entirely loaded with astrological information. And the Pope, all the Pope were taught astrology by the Vatican Council, and all the Pope were thrown under the sign of Leo. I mean, all those information are available through my newsletters, and you can Google anything, like Pope Dr. Turi, for example, or whatever is in your head, and it will come up because I'm a writing machine. I never, you know what? When I was in England, I remember I was homeless for about 3 months. I was living in Victoria Station. Okay.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I used to go out in the middle of the day. And I was freezing cold because the story is that I was in France. I was working in a holiday camp, and there was a bunch of English people here. And my friend and I, we picked up a couple of beautiful girls. We were young. We were like 21 years old. And then when they left, we decided to go there. And then we left with my guitar, we left with my short and a t-shirt. And when we arrived in London in September, wait a minute here, it's not the south of France. I was freezing my butt. And I couldn't
Tell me about it.
And I couldn't speak a single word of English. So what did I do? I made Victoria Station my home. So I used to make money. I was a banker, literally. I was a huge beard, long hair, smelly, dirty. I was homeless. I was playing it out on the tubes in Piccadilly Circus.
I didn't know that.
I like that area. And I didn't know there was a mafia in the tubes. So those guys don't like guys French singing in French, making a lot of money. So they kicked my ass, and I fought the best way I could. They threw my guitar, they stole my little thing that I had in the middle of the tramway. And anyway, then I was really, really desperate. Then after that, I was knocking every door outside of Victoria Station, asking people, hey, monsieur, madame, vous avez du travail pour moi, s'il vous plaît? What the hell are you talking about? I was asking for a job. And then nobody could give me a job because I couldn't speak English. Okay? So what happened, and one day I saw this old lady, and then she was carrying a bunch of plastic bag. And then I said to her, oh, let me help you, but I speak in French. And that lady was from Switzerland, and she understood me. And then she said, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? So I explained to her my situation. She owned a little bed and breakfast. Next thing I know, she gave me a job. And then I started my life in the United States, in London. And I ended up in front of 400 students winning the distinction cup and playing piano. So I started from the scratch, 11 years in England. And I never, ever learned English. In fact, The way I learned English is when I went shopping, I had like 3p. I went and looked for the cheapest tin. I bought that tin and went back to my bank on Victoria Station, opened that tin, and then I was eating it, and it was pretty chunky. And I thought, my God, what dog food means.
Oh no.
This is how I learned English.
Yeah.
The same as typing. I can type as fast as faster than what you can read, and I never took a typing or English lesson because I have the hidden head of the dragon in Gemini also, which means I was born to be a leader of the mind, a writer, a teacher, a communicator, and that's why I can't stop talking sometimes. I have to discipline myself.
Well, you're
to say something.
I have to say your English is very good now, Louis.
Oh yes, I mean, I left France, I was 21 years old, spent 10 years, maybe more in the UK, which I had the most beautiful, wonderful years of my life with so many English friends. I get my first recording deal in Phoenix Phonogram. I had an English band. We were recording all the time. And then I came to the United States with a master tape, and I went to one of these big buildings in Los Angeles, to EMI, one of the top record company. When they listened to the master tape, they said, "Oh my gosh, we're going to bring you all your musicians from England right here. We're going to re-record that to a big studio." And I turned them down. I already had a recording deal with Philips Record Company in Paris, in Phoenix, and we sold like 50,000 copies on my first record because we didn't have CDs in those days. It was a long time ago. But in my life, I completely changed when I moved in the United States. Completely entirely, because I relocated to a different line. There is a section in my work called astrocartography. When I was in London, I was under Saturn, which is called the Great Malefic. The more I work, I had 3 jobs. I was working at St. Mary's Hospital as a trainee nurse, and then I was at the switchboard operator. We barely speak English, can't remember that. I was working at a mortuary, and I was working until 1 o'clock in the morning in a restaurant with a Rumble Belly in Eastbourne. So I had 3 jobs in order to pay for the musician, to pay for the studio, and I finally not only graduated, but also had my first recording deal. So, so when I was in England, I was under this very difficult climate. The more I worked, the less I had. Couldn't even afford a Lager or a bicycle. I moved in the United States under the sun. The sun is love and light and fame. I find love, I find fame, I find light. I even had cancer and I beat it because I'm under the sunlight. So there's a lot of people who do not know about astrology and the benefits that they could get by developing enough cosmic consciousness to understand their cosmic divinity, how God speaks to us through signs, and how to make the most out of their stars.
So how did you actually become to live in, because you live in Arizona now in the US, don't you?
Yeah, I am living in the Arizona. I just finished a UFO TV show on Amazon Prime, which is doing extraordinarily well. It's being traduced in French, in Spanish, in Japanese, and of course it's in English. That show is getting a hell of a hit. And then I did so well that the producers have asked me to do another show, but this time it's all about Nostradamus astrology, which is pretty much what we are talking about now. So it's giving all sorts of information to people, and they are convinced it's going to be even better than the first one, which is been hit by 300,000 hits in 1 month. So we went pretty well, and that brings me a hell of a lot of work, of course, from people from all around the world. And it's also traduced in French, so it's in many languages. The new show on divine astrology, on Nostradamus astrology, will also be translated in various languages. So that's the beauty of living under the sun. You attract love, light, health, and fame.
Yeah, it is nice in Arizona. I must say, I've been there several times, as I've said, and I love it over there. It gets a bit too hot sometimes, I think, but at least in this country, we can come back home and get away from it. But if you're living in it all the time,
you cannot walk in my pool without shoes. You're literally.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I have a little dog, and she cannot go outside without her shoes. I gotta put her shoes because she'll burn a pot. This is incredible. I had cassette tape. I had electronic on the dash of my car. When I came back inside of my car, all these were melted. I think that's why a lot of people die. They leave their kids, leave their dogs in the car, and they die. It's very serious. You're in Arizona.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. Right now it's about 30, I don't know if you check on the temperature from where you are, you could do that, but it's pretty hot. I go outside, in the shirtless. Yeah. In fact, I'm fixing my pool. I'm redoing my pool and my pool deck. So I've got the guys that are working here, but they're from Mexico. They can handle the heat. They just don't understand how they can work under such a heat. It's incredible.
I know that's how it is. So the first time I went there was in 1990. And the actual day, the first day I actually entered Arizona, it was the hottest day on record. I think it was 115, because they were saying it was, I remember it on the news and everything, But I think it's actually gone over. I mean, it's gone over that since, isn't it?
It gets pretty hot. 115, 120, that's the normal during the summer. And it went higher than that. It's crazy. There's not much you can do during the summer. Apart from getting my boat and going in the lake and spend the day in the water. There's nothing else you can do. Stay at home. But in about a couple of weeks from now, this is going to be paradise for the next 6 months here. It won't be hot. It'll be just perfect. And it's 20, 25, 27 degrees a day.
I know it does cool down a bit in the mountain area, doesn't it? But I know you're talking about your... Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, talking about your jobs and things, I heard you've been driving for FedEx for the last few months. Yeah, what happened is
I have been in this country for, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years. I can't remember now. I'm 70 years old, so I've been around, even though I don't look my age at all. Yeah. So, and excuse me, and I never visited the United States. So I had a friend of mine, the police officers, police chief in New York, nurses, all students that I have all over the place. And then they were very concerned at the beginning of COVID-19 because they couldn't get supply, masks and all that they needed to work in the hospital. So I said to my wife, you know what, Mercury is now the head of the dragon is Gemini. Gemini is all about driving, it's all about moving. So I'm going to take all my license. In about a month, I took all my license, double, triple, hazmat, every single license I could get. And of course, I joined FedEx. And I started to drive double. And I visited the United States. I mean, it's incredible. It's such a big country. I was driving about 5,000 miles a week, minimum, because we're two, okay? The truck is always running. That pays a lot of money, so that's a good thing. And at the same time, I was able to take pictures of lakes and mountains and deserts. It's so picturesque.
Yes, and then put that on Facebook.
Yeah, and go on Facebook and share that with my family, with all my friends. I only have 5,000 people on Facebook and over 15,000 on my UFO page. But nowadays Facebook is controlling everything, so you cannot have more than 5,000 people. But on my private website, the Cosmic Code, we have 15,000 that we get to. And then on YouTube, about barely 7,000 small numbers, but it's building really, really fast. So I did that traveling, and I enjoyed this country after so many years. Plus I'm ADHD, and it's not a disorder. Being ADHD is a gift. It's like Einstein. Einstein was ADHD like me. A lot of energy like Trump. Okay. So what I'm trying to say in many ways is that I knew that the stars were going into Gemini, into action, moving, driving, and I took my license and I used the stars at my advantage. I was able not only to travel and share my trips, but also make quite a lot of money because they paid a lot of money to get this job because nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to go to New York and nobody wants to take a chance with COVID-19. And then I did it for a few months and then Mercury retrograde, there you go. I fell out of the truck. I was taking the trash out, and then suddenly enough, I just lost my balance, and I fell, and I hit the stairs of the truck with my back. So now I am home. It's very difficult to sit, especially on something that moves. So I tried as hard as I could to keep the job, but I could not. My back was hurting too much.
Wow.
So I'm not working anymore as a driver. And that allows me, of course, to focus and concentrate on all my clients, my students. They've got tons of reading to do, so I'm very busy.
That must have been a warning from the other side, to take it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, there is a lot of people who really likes me. My family member says to me, "You're always on this highway," because I was sending pictures of accidents and people dying. I've seen so many stuff, unbelievable. And then the COVID-19, so all the people that support me, that likes me, including my family member, thought, well, maybe it's not good to have Louis out there. Next thing you know, Mercury is retrograde. I land on one of my negative cosmic biorhythm, and there we go. I broke my butt on the side of the track. But that was a blessing. The future is the reincarnation of the thought. People think. And when you have a lot of people that think, those energy gets to you. That's why it's dangerous for anybody to build an army of enemies, because, thoughts go through matter in time and space. I remember, David, excuse me, when I was, I buried my wife after 10 years of marriage, decided to divorce me. I went through a hell of a lot of depression. I was just so sad, crying, drinking. I was not me. I was really, really down, trying to go through so much emotion to let go of a partner after 11 years of marriage. And that depression led me to contract cancer, because your thought can also alter the atomic structure of your body and induce all sorts of disease. And I didn't know that. That's why I wrote my book, Beyond the Secret, and explaining the power of the superconscious. Anything that you want, sooner or later will be right in front of your face if you keep thinking steadily. But you can also, you have forces that are working for or against us endlessly. This is part of my teaching. Life is made in two forces: positive, negative, up and down, black and white, front to back. God, devil, yin and yang, male, female. Two arms, two legs, two sides of the brain. You have one side of the brain which is stimulated by the draconis, which are positive groups of extraterrestrial, and then you have another side. The other side is stimulated by the reptilius. That wants you to be negative, that wants you to be depressed, that leads you to change your personality to the point where you're going to get a gun and kill people and then kill yourself. So, the neuroscientists, psychologists, the traditionalists, psychiatrists have absolutely no clue to why a child, which is innocent and loving and beautiful as he grew up, decides to become a murderer. But, so there are reasons for everything that are transpiring, and it's all coming from the cosmic codes. It's all coming from those entities that are constantly bombarding us psychically through dark matter. And this is why I made this movie on UFO. Go to drturi.com. You have a free version of this movie on Amazon Prime, and then you'll see my explanation to how those entities, how the good and bad extraterrestrials are literally molding a human into freer with the human experiences. Yes. It's amazing. But
I have Amazon Prime over here, so I have to watch out for that.
Yeah, well, if you do that, make sure to give me 5 stars.
I will, don't you worry. As I said, I'm very honoured to have you on the show, Louis. I know you're very busy.
It's my pleasure, my friend.
You've got to tell us about your alien abductions. You've had 2 over the last year or so.
No, I have 7. I collected them. I have a very strong Aquarius chart. I have a strong stellium in Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled and controlled by a planet called Uranus. Uranus was the New Age astrology, the sudden release of energy, earthquakes, UFO, the impossible, the incredible, humanitarianism. And when you have a lot of this energy in your chart, you become a magnet to experiences that are totally mind-boggling. And you might gaze, attracted that. Pretty much like Travis Walton. Travis Walton had the moon in Aquarius. So he attracted any of those experiences. There's no accident. It's like you're not going to teach Michael Jackson to sing and dance. You gotta have it. You gotta have some energy that are going to lead you to become something in life. So as above as below. Above your head there is a tremendous activity. induced by those extraterrestrials that are creating the solar system. And then they are affecting us. We are their project, so to speak. But you have the reptilians who work with the dark force. They cannot survive unless you're negative, unless you're depressed, unless there is chaos, unless there is negativity. This is dark matter. They need that energy. We cannot have a day without a night, a God without a devil. So the dark force is constantly recruiting lost souls, people that are nasty, negative, people that use legal or illegal drugs that have absolutely no control over their psyche. They become prime target to the reptilians. And then they commit horrible crimes. And they are everywhere. Okay? And then even me, if I drink a beer or two or three, that's the depiction of the reptilians that could make me crash, kill somebody, do something stupid. Okay? While you have the Draconis, those guys stimulate the mind of a scientist to create incredible technology that gets you to live longer. For your eyes, for your ear, for your heart. It's unbelievable, the potential that we have. But the battle between light and darkness has been with us since the get-go. But, in the UFO community, those experts have absolutely no clue to what's going on, because they don't have the stars to perceive the archetypal realm of supracosmic consciousness and to attract extraterrestrials like Draco that I channel constantly. In fact, Draco entered my life during the solar eclipse of June 2012, when everybody said it's going to be the end of the world. I was saying, no, it's the opposite. Okay? And then you can see on my movie, Draco coming to me. And you can see that orb. You can see it getting closer and closer and closer, and then getting into my third eye and coming out of my heart. I mean, you cannot make this up. You cannot make this stuff up. Even if you're a master in Photoshop, you cannot play with
Let me just say,
thoughts.
Draco is your solar entity, isn't he? Is he like a spiritual guide type of thing?
Yeah, Draco is from the constellation of Draco. Draco is a Draconis, not to be mixed up with the Draconians. Draconians are part of the negative group of extraterrestrial, the reptilians, or the reptilians as I call them. So, those entities cannot survive without negativity, like the Draconis cannot survive without the light. That's why they live in dark matter, because the crimes rate increase drastically. The group of people that are being negative.
Hello?
During the day, the sun shines and all the planet shines.
Sorry, yeah, I lost you for a moment. You all went quiet. So I think we lost the connection for a moment. But I think we got it all anyway.
Well, basically, what I'm trying to say, David, is that the Draconis are coming from feed the humans with the forces of the sun. The sun is Leo. Leo is love and light and life. Fame, power, health. Leo is light, the day. And if you wear gold, you're going to attract the positive group of extraterrestrials. When it comes to Travis Walton, for example, when this happened, he was in a track. Get out of the track. The track was loaded with metal, steel. Okay, and in East Arizona, everybody has a gun. Everybody has tools to cut trees where they were over there. And then he went into the flying saucer. He was not invited. Of course, he got electrocuted, literally by the reptilians.
Yeah, and he thinks that they tried to save his life, doesn't he?
No, it was the opposite. There is the Draconis that saved him. They took 3 or 4 days to put him back together. So, look at it this way. What is the metal that never lasts? That you give for love, that you give as a symbol of power, love, and light. It's gold, correct? Yeah. What is the opposite of gold? That lasts and that kills. Steel. And what do you do with steel? You make knife, you make bullets, you make machine gun, tanks. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm trying to say. So if you surround yourself, that's why if you go and look for extraterrestrial, you want to put your car away. You want to walk as far as possible from your car, and you want to wear gold. There is tricks. There is no, but that is if you want to attract them on a physical plane. But they're already with you. They're already bombarding you every second of your life. They're already in your psyche. They're in your head. That's why we say magical. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 sides of the brain. We're affected by those energies. And in sudden enough, the scientific community has absolutely no idea what's going on with the brain. Okay? They think everything starts and finishes within the conception of the mind. No, there is no difference between your brain, my brain, the one of Einstein or a killer. The same density, the same.
Now I know what my problem is then.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is what's different is the UCI, is the program. So all human beings are affected by those stars, which are much more than dead rock hanging up there for the sake of beauty. And those stars interact with the human mind because of your stars. And you have chosen, before you reincarnate on this dense physical world, you have chosen your country, your ethnicity, your stars, your parents. You have chosen every single thing because you got some karma to pay off and you've got some growing to do. And you only have 80 or 85 or 100 years if you're lucky. Make sense? Then you come back because there is no beginning, no end. It's just the way it is.
So we do come back to learn a lesson, you believe?
Yeah. Let's say, for example, you're a racist in 2020. There is no time and space. Imagine life or the universe like a radio, where you have that knob. You can turn it to the right forever or to the left forever. And you pick your station wherever you need to be when you're out there, when you have more senses than what you have, than those 5 limited human senses that you rationalize with right now. Okay? So, and you choose all that, and then there's nobody to judge you but yourself. So if you're a racist, okay, and you do a lot of damage during this lifetime, when you come back, you can come back in the 60s, in the 50s, in the middle of Africa, and then manage to make your way to America, and then obeying, taking it as a slave. No, there is no accident. Every single thing that you use today is the result of all the work you have done in the past, in previous past lives. Everything that you use, during the king and the queen, during the 13th or 14th century, they didn't have Lamborghini, they didn't have mansions, they didn't have boats. Okay? But they worked, and then they reincarnate in this dense physical world. They inherited their gift, which is a set of stars that will help them to move forward, to be better than other human beings, and to make a name for themselves, or to build businesses. If you become a billionaire and you are very greedy and you don't respect the law, chances are you're going to be caught. You have to pay. You cannot avoid the laws. And then the problem is, I consider myself as the first-class cop. What I'm trying to say is, you stop at the red light, you stop at the stop sign in the street. These are the codification of the Bible, the laws created by men. But because you do not see the other side of my hand, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There is another set of laws. And that's what I teach as a soul doctor, bringing furthering cosmic consciousness to humanity. That's my job, my mission. Now,
in your abductions, you had 2 lost dogs that you brought to your house, and then they disappeared. What happened there?
My God! But let me tell you what happened on my last UFO abduction, David. They told me, Louis, you have to go to Vegas. You got a couple of trailer that goes to Vegas from Phoenix. So I went to Vegas and I came back. And the next day they said, Louis, you got to do it again tonight. Okay. So let's cut the story short. It's now 2:00 in the morning. I'm a little bit pissed off because I cannot hear coast to coast. George Norris at 2:00 in the morning on the repeat, so to speak, because I'm in the middle of the desert. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm driving at 65 miles per hour. Okay. I've done that trip the night before, so I know exactly what's going on, where to turn, what to do. Okay. And I'm going at 65 miles per hour. There is no traffic in front of me or behind me, and it's pitch dark. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, the highway, which has two roads, okay, the highway turned like a Y, and there is 2 roads in the middle of the. What the hell is that? I didn't see that last night. I was so confused. Of course, I jumped on the brake, and when you jump on the brake for security purpose, FedEx has camera inside and outside of the track. I nearly flipped the track because I was going so fast, and I went to the right, and I said, "What the hell did it? What? There's no construction here last night." I thought, logically, it was construction. But why would they have this split in the middle of the freaking highway? It didn't make no sense. So, as I was thinking and trying to rationalize what I went through, I find myself on highway from 93 north. I find myself on 40 west. And the only way to go on highway 40 west is if you take a very long overpass. Did not see the overpass at all. I was so confused. I thought, okay, I know I'm going to be back tomorrow morning exactly at the same place around 10 o'clock in the morning because I know the schedule. And then I'm going to look peel my eyes, make sure that what happened to me here. Okay, so in fact, by accident, I called Tom. I have two Toms when I called Tom, coast to coast Tom, 10 o'clock in the morning, trying to explain to him what I went through, but I landed on the wrong Tom, so I was sorry to wake him up. But anyway, so I went back at the same place and I went very slow, like 35, 40 miles per hour. Everybody was taking over the big rigs. And the next thing I know, there was nothing unusual. There was a big huge ramp that totally completely disappeared the night before. So I called my boss. I said, look, you need to check on the GPS and you need to check on the camera, okay? Because last night, me and 80,000 pounds of equipment disappeared from one highway to the other one in a fraction of a second. I was so damn confused. Okay, they checked everything, okay, 2-3 days later, and they said, Louis, guess what? We see you until 2 o'clock in the morning. And then for about 5 minutes, everything is black, and then you're back on again. And that's what exactly FedEx said to me. And then too skeptical, I can give them the names of my bosses if they don't believe me or think I make things up. Now, what's interesting, the very next day, I was still absolutely and completely confused, talking to my wife about what happened to me and so forth. And I took off. Okay, I was on Highway 51 going towards 10, towards the hub, FedEx hub. Guess what? As long as I was on 51, I find myself on 35th Avenue, 7 miles ahead. Exactly the same thing happened the next day. Okay, I was so freaking confused again. Okay, it's unbelievable. And then, when I came back, I explained all this to my wife, to my trusting friend, Tom, and then she was, it was about 11:30 at night, and I was watching TV and she was washing the car. I got a beautiful Lexus and she's very fussy. She cleans it all the time. And then, she came back in the house and she said, honey, there is a dog. I said, well, don't worry about it. Somebody's walking the dog. She said, no, it's nobody. So, and she was afraid because it was a big dog. It was a medium-sized dog. So I went outside. That thing was sitting by the car on his ass, and he was just like behaving like a dog. You could see that he was used to humans. So I patted him, and he was okay. I said, don't worry, the Tom is going to pick him up in a minute or two. Then 5 minutes later, she came back and said, honey, there was another one, but it's a tiny one. A small, tiny little white dog. So I said, okay. I look around, nobody was there. So I just started to walk, and of course the 2 dogs followed me. So I went all around the block looking for the owner of these dogs, because I didn't want those dogs to get killed. So, it was night, it's fine, but during the day there was a lot of traffic. So when I came back, half an hour later or so, my wife says to me, we cannot leave those dogs outside. I said, no. So we brought the dogs inside of the house. Okay. And my wife, she's a night owl. So 5 o'clock in the morning, she was still exercising in the exercise room, and those 2 dogs were looking at her through the French window. And then she went to bed. And then, so she went to bed around 5:30 like this. I got up around 8:30, okay? And then 9 o'clock, something like this. First thing I did is to go outside, okay? Make sure that the dogs are fine, because I put them a blanket, water, and food, whatever they needed. And I was, just checking on them. Completely and entirely disappeared. Those dogs were not in my house. I went in the back, in my shack. I went everywhere, by the pool, anywhere they could hide. No dogs. Now listen to this. We have a little dog called Lady, and she is so incredible wearing. She barks for anything. I track a person walking around the street. That night she didn't bark at all. See? Now, I have camera in my house looking over the pool. Okay? I have a wire fence, a big concrete wall, 6-7 feet tall, and then I have a wire, electrical wire. Nobody comes into my house. It's very, very secure. And I have plenty guns. Security camera everywhere. And
I'll remember that if I come visit.
Yeah, and guess what? Nothing on the video again. Really? So I do not know what those two dogs were. It's impossible for the owner of these dogs to jump my wall. He would not be crazy enough to do that. Nobody would be crazy enough to jump a wall. Then he would have to take the dogs and put the dogs above. It's impossible. It's about 8 feet tall with the wire. It's impossible. And the doors are locked from the inside. So it is still a mystery. We do not know what happened to those two dogs, where they came from or where they went. Period.
That's a strange story.
Yeah, that's altogether, it's 7 extraordinary experiences. As I teach my students, incredible experiences with incredible people that have incredible wisdom to share. And that's where we're at. That's what I'm doing, sharing incredible experiences that did happen to me.
Do you think
and I'm not the only one.
Do you think they could have been dimensional beings, maybe?
It has to be. It's like me with this truck, driving through a porthole. I believe that night I got killed. And the extraterrestrials cut that section out of my memory. It's like when my wife, when the extraterrestrials took the fetus in my wife and took the baby inside of the flying saucer, there is a scar, 2-inch scar above the airline. It was physical. That was amazing. How is it possible to make a surgery on somebody and then at the same time she heals? They left it with this like laser cut above the airline. And then when I talked to my wife, my ex-wife, about losing the child, she has absolutely no memory of being pregnant. I said, you were at least 4 months pregnant. And she will maintain, you're dreaming, you're insane, I never was pregnant. And I said, but what is that cat here? She said, I don't know. It's just crazy what they're able to do. So they can erase your memory. So I believe that night, somehow, maybe I killed myself, and then they wanted to, with the track, I don't know. Then they cut that section before, maybe I took that overpass too fast and flipped the track and go down like 50 feet down the bottom of the other highway. I have no idea. But I'm trying to give you a plausible explanation to what happened to me. I don't know. Sure. I went through a tunnel, I went through, I don't know, porthole, or I killed myself, or all of the above. I have no clue.
Yeah. Does it actually make you question your own sanity, something like that?
Oh, you believe me. And luckily for me, the experience with my sister and with my brother, when we had the flying saucers 30 feet above my head, those experiences took place with family members. So that's one of the reasons why I still keep my sanity, because they were there and they confirmed that the flying saucer is real, and those 3 people that we see in the middle of the night that give me a headache for 2 weeks, God knows what. All this is real. I mean, all this explaining great detail in my movie on Amazon Prime. But, it's very difficult for people who don't have an advanced UCI. They're rational, they're born with a lot of earth sign, they're practical, they're skeptical, agnostic, atheist. These people don't have an advanced UCI, unique celestial identity, and they cannot digest, assimilate, or even accept the reality of extraterrestrials. But, as I said, at 70 years old, do you think I don't have better things to do than to make up stories about UFOs?
Yeah, sure.
It's real. It's real.
Oh, I know they're real. I saw one back in 1967, actually.
As I said, I have 7 of them, and it's on that movie.
I don't think I've been abducted, to my knowledge, anyway. But you never know.
Well, again, the first time I've seen I was dedicating extraterrestrials when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And then when those things came to me from the bottom of my bed, and I was looking at them, I was frightened like hell. The only thing I could say to my mom the next day when I was screaming my head off is that a little monkey with big eyes, they come every night, Mama.
Yeah, that's strange, because that's a very similar description to what I've heard before from other people, as being children as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, during that was in 1956 or 57. I was 6 or 7 years old. I remember exactly, but that's about the age that I remember. And there was a lot of reports from Russia of a specific group of monkeys extraterrestrial. It looks like monkey to a child, to me, because I don't know anything else. Okay, and then I saw them again. I took a picture of one of those in the desert. It's incredible. When I do my slideshow, I point it out. People are just, it's exactly the same thing that I saw when I was 6 years old. I took a picture in the middle of the desert of this thing. And I was wondering, what the hell is those antennas over there? And I took a picture and there it was in the bush. I mean, you're talking about things that are absolutely mind-boggling here, David. And unless you go through it yourself, you have the right to be skeptical, because I understand how incredible such a mind-boggling experience can be for someone who has never been through it. It's very possible.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I've heard so many. I mean, I haven't actually seen an alien myself. I do believe in them because I've spoken to so many people with similar stories and similar descriptions. So I don't doubt your story at all.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why people are these never attracted extraterrestrials is the same reason to what I'm going to explain right now. You know, I used to have a Corvette, brand new Corvette, and I used to park it in front of the bar where I had all my friends. And then we were there, of course. I was buying drink to everybody. We were happy. With Gary Lucy, my actor friend, and all the guys are well known. So we were hanging there. When I came out of the bar, I saw spit on my windshield and cigarette butt, lighted cigarette butt on my leather seat, because it was a convertible, right? And I mean, how can you attract a Corvette if you spit in it or if you mistreat it? Okay? It's the same with extraterrestrials. How can you attract the divine or the incredible if you don't believe in it? A magnet will attract a piece of wood. These are universal laws. And again, this is all I teach in my book, Beyond the Secret, how people can use this power. A lot of people are doing it subconsciously. You know, let me tell you the story. When I was in England, I used to work at the Grand Hotel in Eastbourne, okay? There's a big Grand Hotel there. I'll start to work at the basement, cleaning floors, and I end up general manager. Because that's the way I'm very competitive.
Oh, all the way to the top.
Oh yeah. In fact, I don't know if you heard of the Heaton Transportation. I was dating the Heaton Transportation daughter, one of the biggest transportation in the UK.
Right.
I believe in Ormskirk, near Liverpool.
Ormskirk, yeah, I think.
I was dating really wealthy people, and I started at the Grand Hotel sleeping with Kukarach. So I made my way all the way up to general manager of the saloon bar. So what I'm trying to tell you, you're from England. We stop. The last call is 10 o'clock. I don't know if it is anymore, but that's what it used to be in my days. Okay? You cannot serve drink after 10. Is that the same law nowadays?
Yeah, no, I think it's later now, but unfortunately with all the lockdowns and things we've got going on, I think it's gone back to 10 o'clock again at the moment.
Anyway, so I was working there, and I'd never seen a Spitfire before, a red Spitfire convertible, and I was walking the street and I saw this car. I said, oh my God, I want this car so bad. And I put a thought into the universe, and of course I saw myself driving the car with a beautiful girl next to it. I was 21 years old. Yeah? So anyway, the story goes that I end up general manager. Okay, I always wanted to be running the show there because there was a lot of party in the saloon bar. And then that night, the guy working behind the bar was asking this big, huge Scottish guy to pay his bill because he had a lot of bill that he didn't pay. And the guy, instead of paying him, he threw the ball. He just missed the ball by miracle. Then he jumped over the bar with his knife. He was so drunk. He ran after him. So I went on the other side of the knife. I said, hey, take on somebody like me, because I'm from the street. I had no fear. Of course, I beat the guy, and then I ran off. And then the next thing I know, the general manager just called me, and I thought, oh gosh, he's going to fight me. And when I go there, he says, you know what, we need guys like you down there. So I'm going to put you general manager. But I always wanted to be the general manager of that place. The future takes care of you. So in reference to the car, 10 o'clock at night, I said to my girlfriend, let's do the till and we're going to go home like we do all the time. And then I hear a big bang on the door. Bang, bang, bang. I thought it's always raining over there, and then there was a lot of thunder that night. So my girlfriend says, "Oh, don't open the door." I said, I got to find who that is. So I opened the door. This guy came in. He was drunk as a skunk. He was smelling beer. He fell on top of me. He was crying. My girlfriend. What happened? He told me the next day that he followed his girlfriend and his boy is from London, and he caught her with a guy. And he got depressed and he got drunk and whatever it is. Next thing you know, I have the security guy that said, "Oh my God, really?" I said, "What? There's a car in your wall here." Oh, jeez. I'm going to call the police. I said, no, don't call the cop. Man, this guy is drunk, he's crying. No, just don't, leave it alone. Put it away. Do something. Okay, so I said to my girlfriend, you go home, and I took this guy with me, and take care of him. The next morning, this guy was wondering what the hell he was. He says, oh my gosh, my car, what happened? Oh gosh, did you call the police? I said, no. He said, the guy was an attorney. He was an attorney. I had no idea. I mean, he was completely drunk. He had an accident. And then he thanks me. And he says, my car is just probably bad. What happened to it? He gave me the keys. And he says, I'm leaving right now. I need 2 coffee. He gave me the key of this car. So I went. I didn't know what it was. I went in the bar where I was, where he hit. The car was on the side of the road. He had a headlight broken. He had the radiator, the belt, and the fan was broken, and of course what we call the bender was broken. Another one, it took me like $300, okay, to fix the car. You know what it was? It was a red Spitfire convertible. Wow. That tells you when you put a thought and you don't have any interference, which means you have faith. Okay, you really mean business. Sooner or later, it took 3 months for that thought to become a reality. But I was driving a red convertible Spitfire with a pretty girl next to me. Okay, this is what I wrote in my book Beyond the Secret. And then you can also affect your metabolism. When I was a kid, I was about 11 years old, David. My mom and my dad used to fight all the time. And I used to say, hey, is there any way you guys could talk instead of fighting all the time? I didn't want to hear them. I just didn't want to hear them screaming. I had enough. The next thing I know, I find myself in a hospital, and the doctor is stuffing my little butt with 8,000 units of penicillin trying to stop the infection that I had in my ears. Okay, 2 weeks later, my mom comes back there for asking for the prognostic. We knew that I had a ear infection in both of my ears. And the prognostic was that I didn't respond to any form of antibiotic. So I was going to get blind. Infection was going to ruin my brain. I was going to go crazy and finally die. So that flew me home. Went back home with my mom, but I'm from a French-Italian background. I have 8 brothers and sisters. My mom didn't want me to die there. So what did she do? She brought me to her mother, Grandma. When I arrived at Grandma's farm, you know what? The only thing I heard was the wind, the birds, the river next door. And my grandma never raises a voice. She never screamed. Which means the very next day, my infection in my ears stopped. Literally stopped. I was making a wish not to hear my parents. Okay? And when you're a child with a filter with a subconscious, is not existing. Okay? Okay, so what happened is I was able to stimulate those forces, or God, if you want to. And God said, hey, how am I going to grant your wishes? Oh, you don't want to hear them? I'm going to make you deaf. That's what happened. You gotta be very, very careful of what you wish for and how you think. Because you're more than blood and flesh and nerves, David. You're a human being. You're loaded with power, creativity. And that's what I teach. So, to those of you out there that are interested in encountering the power of the superconscious, just put your hand on my book, Beyond the Secret. And then Amazon says that once you open this book, you cannot close it down. I didn't say that. Amazon critics said. So it must be a good book.
I've got to get it. It's Beyond the Secret. I must. I'll put a link to that on the Paranormal Dimensions page as well.
Thank you. It's my bestseller. I have many books.
You say it's about 600 pages.
About, yeah. And the other one is The Power of the Dragon and God Created the Stars. All these books are for my students. that teaches you why Hitler did what he did, why criminals kill people, why people are geniuses. It explains all that.
Yeah.
I want to channeling all sort of information.
Yeah, I'll certainly put links onto that. Astrology. What foreign powers should we be looking out for, do you think, over the next year or so?
Well, the tail of the dragon will be moving out of Sagittarius in 2023 in January. This is probably when COVID-19 will be gone. Maybe a story of the past. Okay. But the tail of the dragon will move into the sign of Scorpio, which is a sign of death and drama. Scorpio rules the sign of death and drama, reincarnation. It rules also the FBI, the CIA, the KGB, and Iran's Russia. Russia is a Scorpio country. That's why Russia died and become Russia, so to speak. It was not Russia.
USSR, yeah.
Exactly. So it is a Scorpio country. So I worry about Putin, put it this way. Putin will die of a heart attack, like Kim Jong-un. Both of those guys are going to go through heart attack, Draco told me. But I worry about Russia because knowing the tail of the dragon is in Scorpio, Scorpio was also the criminal element, the police, the FBI, the CIA, secret, life, death, sex. The criminal element of our society is going to get really active for about 18 months. And that is already in my 2021.
I get the feeling they have been already, don't you?
Well, the dragon is void, of course, so it's already activated, yes. But the good news is that the head of the dragon will be in Taurus. And to represent money, solidity, and security, the ancient card, the bull. This is why in the financial district in New York, you have the bull, the little girl. Basically, what the ancient was saying is, look at my banks, look at my wall, look at my wealth, give me your money, I'm going to make it grow. And Taurus was Switzerland, where all the banks are located. So, with the head of the dragon in Taurus, there's a full restructure of the financial world. Of course, Scorpio was also the corporated world. So, a lot of corporations are going to go belly down again. There is tremendous energy that's coming to us. Right now, the tail of the dragon is in the 6th house of work and service in the United States. United States, July 4, 1776, is a Cancer country. So if you count 5, including July, you're going to end up in November. July, August, September, October, November, December, the 6th house. Right now, the tail of the dragon is in Sagittarius in the 6th house of work and health. So that's why there is no work in the United States because of COVID-19, and it's why the United States is sick with COVID-19. The tail of the dragon is in the 6th house of work and health of the United States. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, I am not a psychic per se. Okay, I'm just a different scientist. I use this software. I have asked Alan Software in Los Angeles to make a software like Nostradamus would have done the stars, knowing that there was no watch computer in the 16th century. So I'm using a software and I read the stars with the help of Draco to translate the future. And I use quatrain like Nostradamus used to do. In fact, I am the only leading astrophile who is using quatrain. But I like Nostradamus quatrain. Nostradamus quatrain were really blurry, very secretive, very into the water, so to speak, because he had to be careful not to stimulate the French Inquisition and lose his head. In fact, the only reason why he didn't die is because he was friends with Catherine de Medici, the Queen of France, which hired him, so to speak. So, to make the situation easy to read my quatrain, which are very, very obvious in plain English, I also added keywords. So when I say, for example, Russia, secret, police, FBI, sex, drama, death, police being killed, there you go. You know what? I had the FBI, they visit me twice already, David.
Yeah, because I know.
I gave exact dates of terrorist attack in Paris and New York. And those 4 of them, twice, they came here. They thought I was a sleeping cell. How the hell did you know there was going to be an attack on this day?
I was actually going to ask you about that, but you've already brought it up yourself. So.
Well, it's important to mention that when you start to attract the FBI, you've got to be cautious of what you're saying out there, okay? Especially those kids. They were about 40, 45 years old kids. They had a traditional education, okay? To me, they are kids, okay? They educated idiots. So I took them in my office. First, they checked everything, my green card, 55 bombs or whatever, connection with terrorists. You will sit down with all this. I sat in my office and I showed them my software. Do you think those kids would have grasped the opportunity to learn from me? No. They didn't even think of the potential that I could bring the police or the Secret Service with my methodology. If I was able to do that, to bring these guys in my house, at least they should ask questions. They don't even ask questions about my work on astropsychology. Bunch of kids. So, I don't predict anything, okay? I just read the stars and translate the stars. And the news constantly, like the weather, repeat themselves. I just know when those windows are coming, when there is earthquakes. I give exact dates of earthquakes. In fact, I'm going to do that with you right here, right now. I like to put the ring where the mouth is. So today we are the 21st, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not go too far because people don't have much memories, okay? But let's say on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th, be ready for big earthquakes, explosion, space news, NASA news, anything to do with the airplane that may crash. You're talking about the sudden release of energy, Japan, news from Japan and France. You're talking about, it's already in my newsletter. If you go to drturrie.com and click on my newsletter, you can read the forecast.
The earthquake, are we talking about in the US or?
Well, you're talking, I'm talking about all over the world. Many years ago, I sent a letter to the Seismology Institute in Pasadena and also in Los Angeles. And I told them, on October the 6th and October the 9th, expect earthquake above or at 7.0. We have 7.3 and 7.6 on the exact data that I gave those guys. Wow. And you can see the email and you can see the date. So I don't make it up. They never ever have answered me. They're wondering, scratching their very educated head. How can this guy, he's not involved in science. How can he pick up data of earthquakes? And I do it all the time. And I just did it on the show.
Yeah. Something I always thought about myself is they keep on saying about Yellowstone is actually well overdue for erupting or having an
Well, we can be sure. During those windows of the data I give you next weekend, okay, you're going to have a lot of earthquake activity, okay, much more than usual. You definitely will have earthquakes at or above 6.0. In fact, the last one that took place at 6.6 with the tsunami warning, I give the exact date again, my newsletter and my video on YouTube. I do this all the time. I cannot even keep up with my predictions on earthquakes. Because it's repetitive. It can be scientifically proven. Yet, I don't expect the U.S. Department of Education taking me or my student to teach the kids or to teach the scientific community. Okay? Because that's how it is. It's against the law. Or, don't believe in astrology is the sort of science. It's ridiculous. Dr. Turrie is a lunatic. There's nothing in his work when it's actually completely and entirely the opposite. This incredible science has been taken away from humanity, and that's why there is such a big chaos. Because the scientists and the religious fanatics don't understand God's cosmic design. They don't understand how God speaks to us through His creation. And that's why people are flocking to me now, because they get some answers, and I put the green with the mouth is, and they see it happening. Dr. Turrie is real. And that's why we're getting more people coming to me.
Well, I mean, I think you've spoken to David Icke as well, haven't you, in the past? And I believe he's another person that's said a lot of things for over 30 years, and a lot of it's coming true now.
Well, you know what? David and I, we used to be real good friends, very close. In fact, I invited him when he came to Phoenix on my radio show. I went to pick him up in the hotel. We've been very close friends. We are from the Truth Seeker. David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, and another guy, I can't remember his name now. And we are the result of the Truth Seeker. David Icke in 1995 came to the United States. He was invited by Jordan Maxwell, and the Truth Seeker gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars to launch his career. And I was there, but because I was into astrology, all they did for me is to publish one of my book, and they put it in their name. The money goes to them, not to me. So, and I came here and stayed to have only 50 bucks, and nobody to help me. David had a limousine, he had $1 million mansion waiting for him, and a big fat contract. Without this, David Dyke would not exist anywhere in the world. Yeah. I even predicted and give the exact date to when he was going to be stuck in the airport in Los Angeles by being refused the visa. What happened is David said, sad enough, that the Holocaust didn't take place. He said that Sandy Hook was staged, and people believe it. I predict Sandy Hook before it happened. And of course, I told him, David, you have to be cautious. I remember in 1991 or 95, he called me, because he used to call me from wherever it was in the world to guide him. We were very close. And then he told me, Louis, I'm going to write a book on the reptilians. And I said, David, where are you going to go? He says, I'm going to go to the Isle of Wight. I don't know if you know where that is. Isle of Wight. Okay, and I'm going to be there, and I don't want to be disturbed, because when I write. I said, okay, no problem. But I said, David, the tail of the dragon is in your subconscious, and you're going to steal forces that you may not understand, or you may not be able to rationalize with. And that's where, even when I warned him, he didn't listen. He went. I said, you should wait until this dragon gets away, then you'll be able to. You want to attract the nasty entities. Next thing you know, of course, he saw the reptilians and he believed in them so much. And now he thinks everybody wants power, wants money, like the queen turned into a lizard. Nobody turned into a lizard. You already have those lizards in your head. And that's where we difference in our teaching. Because David is very smart. He's a genius, don't get me wrong. Okay? But what I don't like about David is that he has no cosmic consciousness. And even though they got all my books before everybody, he's learned a lot about the stars through my work, and that's beautiful, and that's what we do, okay? But I've always been against his teaching of confusing people with fear, negativity. You're going to end up in a concentration camp. Fear the power. David fear money. David fear power. Is exactly like Trump. And when you fear money, when you fear power, you sign up to all sorts of conspiracy, which launched his career because he's very controversial. But there is my most negative point with David is that he is leading people into a conspiracy that makes no sense, even though the conspiracy are very real, some of it. But when it comes to the reptilians or the reptilian, he has no clue what he's talking about. Nobody turned into a lizard. They're already in your head. The reptilians are already in your head. And David never accepted that. And then we became kind of enemies after that. Could not even connect. And Pamela, his wife, lives in Sedona next door. They're still very close. Pamela, in fact, once upon a time, we had a lecture to do in Sedona, and he arrived too late. So I said, hey, you know what? You could stay with us, my wife and I. So we went for a drink together while the wife got ready, and then we entered our room and said, make sure that you mix the bed. Luckily, we had I had 2 beds in that room. So that was the good day with David. I really love his teaching. Don't get me wrong, he has incredible information. But when it comes to the reptilians, he's completely oblivious. And I could never go through that with him. And that's why I'm upset.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, really
I've met him a couple of times. I quite like him and all that. But
well, he's an Aries, you know. He's an Aries. And on the 8th house, he becomes Scorpio in the 8th house. The 8th house is other people, money. It's metaphysics, it's investigation, it's the Illuminati. So, and that's why he regenerates when you write. He's a writing machine like me. He's a talking machine. I mean, David can talk you to death. He likes to talk.
Yeah, I've heard him talk for 10.5 hours.
Yeah, he's like me. You know, I can't stop. We have the same energy working through our charts. We are very similar. That's why we both leader of the mind and where we are at. But he was born with the tail of the dragon in Leo. Leo with love, romance, creativity, children, and anything to do with his ego is being neutralized with the tail in Leo. He has the head in Aquarius, so who's the new age. But had he been a little bit more smart in terms of the Holocaust and Sandy Hook, he wouldn't have been sued hundreds of thousands of dollars. and he would still be going to Australia. That's the day I told my newsletter, expect the beginning of the end of important phases of life on that day, okay? And that's exactly the same type of energy that's going to be in place on November the 3rd for the election of Trump. I said on that day, to be ready for that type of energy. That's the day I lost my mother. And that's the very same day that David got stuck in the airport in Los Angeles, wondering why he couldn't go there because they neutralized his visa. That means my prediction came true to thousands of people in Australia, that it was the beginning of the end for them of having David.
Yeah, it's a shame.
People are not spiritual enough to relate to my work, but that's exactly what I said. And there is videos on YouTube that confirm all that. So some people think, wow, some people said I'm jealous. I'm not freaking jealous. I am concerned because he has a hell of great information, but he does not understand the reptilians because he saw them. He saw them. To him they are very real. But because the tail of the dragon in his subconscious, he was able to manipulate forces that he could not understand or control. And then all of a sudden he associates this with everybody who has power, the queen, politicians, the Illuminati, and he starts to lead people into the negative energy of the reptilians, and that's very, very bad. That's what I like. Everything else I agree with him.
Yeah, well, the bloodlines link right back to ancient Europe, don't they?
Right. Look, he is a genius on his own right. I would never, ever take that away from David. And I was the first one to bitch because they should not go against his second amendment to pass on his gift, pass on his information to the rest of the world. Because I went to Australia, I also teach, I went all over the world. If I was stopped like he did, that would really, really piss me off. Okay? So I was the first one to fight with him, for him. Well, yeah.
Anyway, in a show back in 2013, you once said, we only have 50 years on this Earth, on planet Earth. What did you actually mean by that? That sounds a bit worrying.
Well, maybe it should be. What I'm trying to say is, when I was doing the TV show with George 10 years ago, I said 50 years. So that means we have 40 years left, correct?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a bit worrying.
Yeah, I do worry because if humanity does not raise above this physical manifesto, the reptilian agenda is going to do a lot of damage to us. I don't think the Draconics would allow, their product, humans and the solar system that they built, to fall into their hands. Okay, but we're talking about all sort of things that you have to be aware of, like the climate change. This is not a joke. The climate change is very serious. There is a lot of thoughts that are going left and right, and 3/4 of the tremendous amount of trillions of tons of thought every single second generated by human psyche are going on a direction which is negative. That's why the compass points out north, negative. Now the age of Aquarius is promising a very different outcome, but that is if we raise our vibration. If my teaching or the teaching of people who are very positive and progressive works for the light worker persuade the scientific community, the religious community, to understand the face and the tools of God and understand the superconscious in time and space. Knowledge is power, ignorance is evil. If you keep going the way we are going, we're not going to go nowhere, and it might take less than 4 years. I want to be honest with you. And that's why I was scared when I made that predictions. So it's all about education. We have the human will is much stronger than the stars or the reptilians. But if you do not know the laws, that's why I'm the first cosmic cop. If you do not know the laws, you're going to become a robot of the stars, which are manipulated by those entities who can only survive with the tremendous chaos, death, drama, war, and all the mess we're in. And you cannot deny that. The humanity has not yet realized that we can go the other way. And that's what I'm teaching. And if we don't change course, there'll be a time when we have no more chances. We are the last moment. And this is what has been predicted by Nostradamus, by religion, and yeah, as a modern prophet, I know we can turn things around.
It's just, what was that?
That's my phone is getting, messages.
You're okay, you're right. What, is that what you meant by the Death Wish generation? Is that what's linked to that?
The Death Wish generation, I'm so glad you're smart. I mean, you're an Aries dragon's head like me. You were born a leader of the mind. In 1950 you were born, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the same dragon as me. We have an Aries head, which means we're very lucky in Germany. We are lucky with the affairs involved in the head. People who have a strong Aries head,
I'm a Piscean. I was born in February, but
well, you still have the head of the dragon in Aries. I'm a Piscean too. I'm a fish. We are celestial brothers. Yeah, that's why a magnet will attract a piece of wood. That's why I'm in your show. We vibrate at the same cosmic speed.
Yeah.
But there is a guy called Von Braun. He was working for Hitler to develop the V1 and the V2. Yeah. After the war, he was brought to the United States, and then because of him, we went to the moon and developed the space station. So that's the head of the dragon in Aries. Okay, and people who have a strong Aries head, they become neuroscientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, optician, dentists. They work with the head, either physically or intellectually. Writers, speakers, they're leaders of the mind. We are leaders of the mind. So the universe puts you in a position where you can pass on your information as a leader of the mind, like I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
All right, now, what was your question before that? I lost track.
We were talking about, what were we talking about? Oh, the Death Wish generation.
Oh, Death Wish generation, yes. In order to understand the Death Wish generation, you have to go back to Hitler. Hitler was born in April. And he was born with Gemini, third house, which is communication. April, May, June, the third house, communication, critical thinking. And in this house he has Pluto, the most powerful planet you can get. And Pluto is the base of all the reptilians. So he was reptilians infected. Incidentally, Trump has exactly the same stars as Hitler in that respect. Trump was born with Pluto in the third house in the mind. So like Hitler, he is able to adapt and hypnotizes the mass through his speeches, because this is how it is. Make sense?
Well, yeah, I'm guessing there's been quite a few people that have been quite hypnotized. So,
now, after that, there was a generation following Hitler. I called this generation in my book, The Power of the Dragon, the Western generation. These are all the kids from the United States, from England, from France, from all over the world that died because because Pluto, the planet of death and drama, was in the sign of Cancer, which is home and family. Remember, July 4, 1776, America is a cancer country. Cancer is food. American dies because of the fork, too much food. Okay, so after that, there is our generation. Okay, Pluto, the planet of death and drama and sex, into the sign of Leo. There goes our generation, the baby boom generation. It's a replenishing of the world, because Pluto is not into the sign of food or into the sign of communication, it's into the sign of love. And the hippie generation. So this is our generation. After that, Pluto went into the sign of Virgo, which is the health fanatic generation. Okay, these people are, swallowing it, how they exercise, have a fear of death and disease. This is the generation. After that, you have the gang generation. Pluto, burning to death and drama into the sign of Libra. Libra, which is the law, which is the police, which is you do this and I do that. Which is the groups, so to speak, Libra. Contracting themselves. And then the Pluto went into the sign of Scorpio. That's the Death Wish generation. These are the kids who only regenerate with death, with drama. They become gang leaders, become criminal. They are naturally attracted to work at night. They don't want to do nothing with the day. They are the one who put those cities in fire. They are the one who are looting. They are the one who love trouble. They cannot be without trouble. And they are very vulnerable to the reptilians, because Pluto is the base of the reptilians, and they were born with Pluto in Scorpio in his own sign, which is dignified and extremely powerful. So these are the type of humans you can never change. You can never tell a gang leader to become a nice person overnight. Okay? It's just the way it is. They need that drama and that death and that disturbance and so forth. So I teach all this again in my book, The Power of the Dragon, if you're interested in how Pluto affects generation at large.
Yeah, as I said, I should certainly get a hold of that.
There's quite a lot of information coming your way, for sure.
You mentioned the space program earlier on. Now, do you think that one day we're going to put a man on Mars or any other planet?
No, absolutely not. This is total deception.
You don't
absolutely.
think so?
No, we're already there, technologically speaking. Those people, first of all, Mars was not designed by any means to support life. It's impossible, and it's much too far to start with. So if you believe that one day we're going to put a man on Mars, that will never happen. Your children will never ever see that. No one. People, technologically speaking, your draconians will allow human beings to do that. Okay, very different situation. What's happening here? You have very rich guys, very rich people. I mean, you look at we have spent how much money have we spent in space program with NASA? You're talking about trillions and billions and trillions of dollars, correct?
Yeah.
And what is our accomplishment? We went to the moon, which is next door, and we built a space station, which is 200 miles away.
Well, some people say we didn't even do that, but...
Well, no, this is happening. You have to be logical. You cannot just swallow every conspiracy.
Yeah, no, I mean the moon, I believe we went there.
But you will always find people that are, their mind is set to digest, and they love conspiracy. They regenerate this conspiracy. We're all different, remember that. They don't have any critical thinking or logic. They just go from what somebody they trust says. This is how it is. That's humans affair. So, you're never going to go to Mars, not only because it's unsolvable and it's too far, but mostly because it's manipulation. The people that created the bombs in the 50s, okay, they have had children, and those scientists, they want to stay where they are. They want to build a little robot. They have what you call spiritual pride. They are scientists, they think they are better than you, more intelligent than you, and they'd rather make a little robot and work for NASA than to have a job like us. But these people have bills, they have mortgage, they have insurance, they have gas, they have food to pay. So it's very important for them to discover a new planet or a new black hole every day to entertain you. In the sense there is billions and trillions of planets, they will never run out of material. But the normal human being is not curious enough, not sharp enough to realize the manipulation. What's going on is people that are extraordinarily wealthy, they want to get their crowd to go on the space station or on the moon, so to speak, okay? And give a good look to the Earth. But you ain't going to go there. Your children ain't going to go there. You're not a billionaire. So you're talking about a group of people that are extraordinarily wealthy, okay, that are led by the reptilians to deceive the rest of us, to waste a tremendous, incalculable amount of resources when this money should be used to put on our only satellite, Mother Earth, which is showing some serious stress right now. And those money should go to kids, to be educated, okay? Kids are constantly killed themselves in Chicago because nobody is taking care of them. Nobody is giving them education. They don't care, so those kids have to sell drugs or go into sex. God knows what. All the evil of the bacteria is being maintained. And those people who have all these resources also control the media. They control the source of information, not our Turrie. I don't have a national stage, at least not yet. So I cannot go against the manipulation and the deception, pretty much like, the Church Inc., religions which have been created by the reptilians, because religions have killed more people than all the wars, all the diseases, all natural disasters combined together. Yeah. And at the same time, they are using astrology telling you, don't go there because you're going to go to hell if you talk to Dr. Turrie. People have been indoctrinated. So it's the same deceptive manipulation. These people need your money. They have to entertain you. They have to make you believe whatever it is, as long as they get your tax dollars or your financial support. It's deception to the extreme. We are already on any of those planets. How are they worrying about the universe? How our infantile scientific community is so concerned with the universe when they know zero, nada, rien, nothing of our local solar system, spiritual values. That's where we are. This is why I can't wait. I can't wait to get if I get the support or if I win the lottery and I can build my first astropsychological school, I know, only then will I know that we'll have a chance and we'll still be here 50 years in the future or 40 years in the future. But if we don't bring back that cosmic education, that's going to be bad. Let me explain something that might make sense of what I'm saying here to my claims. You have, it will take about 2,000 years for a child to digest, it would take a few years in school for a child to digest 2,000 years of human evolution, correct? So you teach them algebra, science, you teach them the art, you teach them geography, you teach them engineering, history, languages, you teach those kids everything. But you tell me, David, who is there to teach those kids who they are, where they came from, their cosmic identity, and what God has in store for them through His immaculate conception or His cosmic design? Nobody's there. So what do? They're taking the school as the main place, okay? Telling you subconsciously something is missing in the curriculum, vitae. There's something missing in the education here, okay? So this kid's going to kill the schoolmaster, then he's going to kill the psychologist, okay? And then he's going to kill all the kids that are in the class, and then he's going to kill himself. And you will never, ever stop school shooting unless you help those kids to gather enough cosmic consciousness to regenerate. It's like those kids of the Plutonic death wish generation, okay? You have to show them the scorpion. So you see this ugly insect, the stinger, okay? The stinger, the one you to sting others, to kill, to be nasty, to be negative, to be revengeful, to do things in the dark, to work for the dark force, to work for the reptile. Do you see that scorpion? You have to kill it. Apply your will. And then you have to build the ego and come above all the stress, the drama, and that is crushing you. But how can this child do this? Is the spiritual teacher is not there. And that's what's going on. In our school, university, the real spiritual teacher is not there. But you're going to have a bunch of religious lunatic, okay, teaching inside the school, in every corner, in every block of the most wealthiest area, in every city in the United States. And you're going to have all these people, lunatic, like Neil deGrasse, that talks about science and has absolutely no clue to what the planets are supposed to do. Planets are more than dead rock hanging up there for the sake of beauty. There is life in those planets, but affecting human psyche. And science has to grow up to that level. And that's why you have teachers like me. And thanks God, people like you that are offering me a platform so I can reach more people and try to educate them on the incredible beauty and the power that we all were born with. The idea is to be curious enough to go and dig. You have to go above. You have to go into the universal structure. Then you have to go down and see how you stand. So you have to go under the stars afterwards to see how you stand. That's where the word understand comes from.
And we have to thank people like you for putting the word out there and teaching us.
Well, it's getting there. Slowly but surely, the age of Aquarius is making this world smaller. Aquarius was technology, UFOs, impossible, the incredible, humanitarianism, and then this age of Aquarius is already upon us. So it's not going backwards. The world is becoming smaller and smaller. That's the difference in positive and negative. You have the conservative who doesn't want to grow, religious fanatic, and then you have the Republican or the more progressive Aquarius side, and you can't stop the future. And in between you have war that has always been there because the yin and yang, positive, negative, the anti, God and the devil.
Do you think ETs will ever connect with humanity, or have they done already?
Well, the next dragon, the next two or 3 years, there is a big, huge wake-up call coming to humanity. And there could very well be our space brother doing something outside of the ordinary. They are connecting with many, many of us. I'm one of those, Charlie and Draco. I'm not the only one, okay? All road leads to Rome. Everybody has something to teach someone else. The idea is to be curious and to keep an open mind, okay? And investigate, not just assume. Investigate, read, listen, do your homework. So, I believe the wake-up call for extraterrestrial reality is coming within the next 3 to 4 years. Maybe before.
What about some ancient aliens? Do you believe that we were visited many, many years ago? And
yes, I mean, extraterrestrials have built up the solar system since the get-go. Okay? They have, I call the Draconians are the gardeners of this world. The Galactic Federation of Grand Cosmic Order is forbidding any extraterrestrials, good or bad, to interfere with the humans' affairs unless there is a very specific purpose. That's why you have abductees and contactees, right? Now, the reptilians are not law-obeying. They couldn't give a damn about the jurisdictions of the Grand Cosmic Order. They don't give a damn about the law. But doesn't mean, as they abduct people, the Draconians are doing the same. They did the same with me since I'm 6 years old. It's a preparation, okay? There is no accident for me to have so many of those experiences, okay? There is a purpose, there is a meaning, there is a reason behind all that. And it's being displayed through my words, through my channeling with Draco, but there's more to it in the future. I don't know, but it's coming. That's what I can tell you.
Excellent. Well, you've already given us some predictions for the next few months. Now, you've got some websites, and you've got film sites, and you've got books, everything.
It's all on my website, david.drturrie.com. Very easy. If you're interested in anything, let's say you want to know about the Pope, you Google Pope and you put Dr. Turrie, Trump, Dr. Turrie, psychology, Dr. Turrie, anything, UFO, Dr.
I get you.
It's all there. I've got thousands and thousands of articles. Many of them have been, removed because I have some enemies all over the place who are too religious, too rational.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, it's the way it is. Yeah.
I think we all suffer from that, don't we?
Yeah, it's like David.
You do mini readings as well for people who want them, don't you?
Well, I do reading for people, that's for sure. They face me on either Skype or Zoom, and I kick in with Draco, and you should see the expression on the face of these people when I start to read them, wondering how the hell I know everything about them, better than they know themselves. And the regeneration takes place. I guide them. We record the entire session because there is so much information pouring to my clients that it takes a while for them to digest all this, especially when it comes to the predictions. Sure. And then channeling Draco towards the end of the reading, that's the bonds. That's incredible. But again, it's me to point out and you to find out. So unless you order a reading, anybody who wants to order a reading, it may be a good idea for us to become a Cosmic Code VIP and join my private website. Yeah. If not, I charge $700 for a reading. So if you don't want to pay that much, if you become a VIP, a very important person, then you're going to get a very good discount. So that's what I suggest people to do. And that's why I'm so busy. Because
I'm pleased to have you on this show because I know you're a very busy man. So it's been a great pleasure having you on. Now, is there any way that people can get in touch with you, or do you because you're so busy, does somebody else handle all that?
Well, you know what? I will always find time. I have an emergency area also for suicide, very depressed people. But if you want to get into my world, go to drturrie.com, and most of all, join my YouTube channel. There's so much on those videos that will really captivate your imagination, and they will help you to raise your own cosmic consciousness and understand God's cosmic design.
Sure.
So you can reach.
As I say, I will put links on the Paranormal Dimensions page.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
I guess anyone can always message me if they've got something really urgent to tell you, and I could sort of pass it on, couldn't I?
Something very important. Again, I want to finish that show by telling your entire audience to really pay attention to what I'm going to say just now. Okay? Yep. And make it a prayer before you go to bed. Just repeat after myself. My future is nothing else than the reincarnation of my thoughts. Doing so and making that prayer, you will stimulate the superconscious in time and space to regain your creative power that has been lost in the name of religion, in the name of science, and reconnect with God's cosmic design and understand Jesus' initial cosmic ministry, which was a reflection of the 12 apostles, the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 hours of the day, the 12 months of the year, the 12 sins, the 12 jury, the 12 tribe of Israel. And Astrology is not a pseudoscience, is the mother of all science. And my mission is to bring it back to humanity with the incredible reality of our space problem, the extraterrestrials. And I'd like to finish by saying, David, thank you so much for having me on your show. And God bless you, my friend.
Well, it's been an absolute great pleasure to have you on, Louis, and I'm very honoured to have you on the show. And the time's gone so quickly, we've really covered almost 2 hours here, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you go to the dentist, you're not going to leave anything behind at the time. It's going to take a long time, but when you go to someone's house and you leave your keys or your hat, that means you like that person, and your subconscious saying, go back.
You've got to go back,
No accident for anything that you do. All right, David.
And of course, if ever I'm in Arizona, I'll look you up.
You got it. All right.
Thanks, Louis. Good night. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions. I'm David Young on Paranormal UK Radio Network. Thank you for listening.
Paranormal Dimensions is as bright and powerful as our celestial star, the sun. And although it's expending thousands of pounds of energy every minute of the day, have no fear. There's plenty left.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.